Hope everyone is having a good day. It's Friday. Sorry, it's Friday. Just about 1 o'clock. I think I got here just in about the time that I said I would. Um, just looking up a few things. So it's Good Friday, and which of course means that we are on Easter weekend. I always thought Easter was a particularly beautiful holiday. Of course, as with a lot of religion, we have some mixed opinions here. Squirrel Sniper is here. Thank you and welcome. And he says, Happy Easter. Happy Easter to you as well, my friend. It always, being raised Catholic, going to Catholic school for my formative years up until my second year in high school. And I had mixed thoughts on Christianity. A lot of it didn't really make too much sense to me. And I think some of it still doesn't make too much sense to me. Later, studying, I spent decades working with A Course in Miracles. Never quite getting through until it's a tough text to get through. You have the textbook, you have the workbook, and you have the manual for teachers. And I would start it, but the main function of Course in Miracles is to not tame the ego, not befriend the ego, not get to know the ego for what it is, but basically to eradicate the ego, which is no small goal. And at this point in my life, I actually don't think it's necessary. I think redefining our relationship with nature is probably a friendlier path to take. But I know so many people who've gotten fulfillment, spiritual fulfillment through A Course in Miracles. And it certainly did help me quite a bit. And it helped me redefine a relationship with Christianity. I always liked what they said about the crucifixion, that the only lesson of the cross is that we can all survive our own crucifixion. And life will certainly present us with those opportunities where we will feel crucified by others, by society, by the media, by friends, family, but most importantly, and probably most sadly, crucified by our own thoughts. For me, the path of Buddhism, the path of yoga, helped escape the clutches of thought. Not escape thoughts themselves, but at least having, at least being aware that I am aware, meaning that I'm actually free of those thoughts. I don't have to get bogged down in them. Squirrel Sniper says, nothing makes sense. Man, that's the truth. Maybe that's the point. One has to wade through one's thoughts on all when taking the spiritual path. That's true. And for me, it was the realization, one of the first and deepest realizations through meditating was realizing that I'm not the thoughts. Getting frustrated with my thoughts when I was meditating. And then catching myself that how can I be frustrated with my thoughts? That must mean that I'm not my thoughts. It must mean that I'm simply aware of those thoughts. And with that, the mind started becoming more spacious. At first, just when I meditated, and then through life, I'm not thought free. I'm not thought free when I meditate. However, um, as in Buddhism, where they call it our blue sky nature, because the sky doesn't cling to anything that passes, from clouds to birds to airplanes. Whatever passes through the sky itself remains untouched, and its nature is always blue sky. That's the nature of the mind. However, the ego, the personality, clings to all those thoughts, identifies with all those thoughts. Vitra, I believe, is what it's called in yoga, and that's just mind clutter, energetic patterns, and that's all a thought is, energetic pattern. But when we identify them, then every thought we have seems to be true. We believe every thought we have, which I don't know why. I certainly did at one point, which can make your life miserable. Because what if you think you're ugly? What if you think you're a failure? What if you think you're stupid? Part of you believes that. Even if you set out to prove that's wrong, it has a valid position there because you're trying to do something about it. Instead of just smiling. St. Francis used to often refer to himself in the third person. Francis is hungry, Francis is tired, because he simply no longer identified with Francis, the personality. He was Francis, the awareness of Francis. Our friend Hybrid Jim is here. Hey, Hybrid, how are you? How's the training going? And I hope you have good weather and you're out hanging on your tree. So if I only got that for meditation, that alone, that would have been enough. Of course, I got so much more. So, vitras, as they're called in yogic psychology, thought clusters, energetic patterns that are constantly passing through our mind. Let's see, Hybrid Jim says, cooking a vegan lasagna? Of course you are. Yes, did some slackline today, feeling sore in the upper arms from wall handstands. I'm glad you're getting out on the slackline. I'm having actually, how are your abs holding up from the slackline? I did something to my abs the other day doing intervals, going at a faster pace, one on, one off. Let's see, a friend Lewis is here. Salute, chat. Hello, Lewis, how are you? And 8 minutes of wall handstands seem worse than 500 push-ups. So was it a static hold? Or did you do any presses? Squirrel Sniper says, I think thinking about removing one's ego is the wrong way. I agree with you. Subdue and tame is what is needed. The ego drives the vessel at the helm. And the more you attempt to eradicate the ego, the more it fights back, and it just becomes this battle. And what is it that's trying to eradicate the ego, except for the ego itself? The nature of the mind, the nature of the soul, the nature of the soul mind, the heart, remains untouched by the ego. For me, simply being aware was enough, because then the ego does what the ego is supposed to do, which is help us navigate through life and have the right boundaries for protection, but it doesn't rule our life. We're not ego bound and ego driven in all that we do. Hybrid Jim says, I'm doing 8 times 60s, different things like leg scissors, walking to the plank. Boy, that sounds really core, a lot of stress on the core, good stress on the core. strict back to the wall, strict chest to wall. Nice. Static holds are definitely tough. I used to do some static holds when I was training on the parallel bars, which I've considered from time to time getting back into. Was never really injured on the parallel bars. I fell. Surprisingly, I was never injured, as I would fall fairly often. However, Jim says, thanks, Lewis, and it's the triceps, the shoulder part, that taking a hit. Yeah, I bet. Squirrel Sniper says, ego hold on to shield tightly around the cognitive dissonance. That makes sense. Squirrel Sniper, Hybrid Gym is somewhere in your neck of the woods. I believe you are both in Great Britain. Hybrid Gym says hand balancers must have next level tissue in that area. It seems to me that they start so young that, man, maybe you're right, that they develop that extra layer. It is what it is. Says nice hybrid. I've increased my ab workouts. Now 8 different ab exercises. 1,200 reps daily. Wow. And both of you guys already had good abs to begin with. Squirrel Sniper is in East Sussex here, South Coast. And Hyper Jim says, crazy volume, Lewis. Yeah, it is. But you know what? It is what it is a volume monster. Those were the days. Hyper Jim says, Midlands, quite far away, probably 3-hour drive, 3-hour plus drive. So maybe not same neck of the woods, but let's see, 3 hours would put me somewhere in Virginia, somewhere in West Virginia, close to the ocean. If I drove east, I would be on the, in about 45 minutes, I'd be at the Chesapeake Bay. It is what it is, says it's that time. Yeah, it's getting to be ab season. They say curls for the girls, but you know what? It's got to be abs. It is what it is, says I've only started some abs in the form of gravity boot moves. Yeah, I saw you using the boots on your rings. Pretty impressive. With the safety rope, which is smart. Hybrid Jim says in the UK we have a small idea of distance. I consider 30 minutes drive away, far away. Interesting. You think it's because it's an island, maybe? People on an island have a different fuel for time and distance. Squirrel Sniper says on the same terra firma. Exactly. Where's Duncan in Great Britain? What part of Great Britain is he? I always feel fortunate that I have these YouTube friends in Great Britain, because I just think of it as this ancient and beautiful area. I've mentioned to Hybrid Jim before that it just feels like my spiritual homeland. You would think, with my love for yoga and interest in Buddhism, that given an opportunity, I'd head to India. Given an opportunity, I would head to somewhere in Great Britain every single time over India. Hybrid Jim says it's just dense in the UK. London, Bristol, not far away. The countryside is just so beautiful, though. I have a friend in the UK that Facebook friend, and it's her birthday. Hybrid Jim says that Duncan is in Nottingham, about 90 minutes north of Hybrid Jim. So, Hybrid Jim, you're in Dorian Yates territory, right? It is what it is, says Duncan is a monster. Crazy abs. Yeah, he does have crazy abs. I think he has a damn 12-pack. And you know what pisses me off? We're just about the same age. Squirrel Sniper says many underground cities in Nottingham. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I didn't realize the area that Hybrid Jim is in, and he mentioned it. This might have been a year or so ago, that it has more canals than Venice. Let's see. Hybrid Jim says we consider counties like your states somewhat, but it's like on a 99% smaller scale. So if I go 30 minutes to another county, it's like moving state. Do they have different, like each state here has sort of a different personality. Is it the same in the counties there? Hybrid says, I didn't catch that, neck of the woods. And Hybrid says, yeah, more canals than Venice. Yeah, like I said, it's been like a year since you said that, but it has stuck in my mind as one of those odd facts that I really love learning. And yes, different personality. Of course, some places, like Wales, basically considers itself its own nation within a nation. Hybrid Jim says, is a north-south divide in culture generally? Yeah, big time here. North and south can often be as different as night and day. So, Squirrel Sniper, I'm in agreement with you that it is definitely not necessary to eradicate the ego, or to even try. But it took me a long time to get there, and it took me 20 years of studying A Course in Miracles. And then finally, I would always put it aside, because even trying to be aware that the ego isn't who we are, is a lot of hard work, or so it seems, for a certain amount of time, because of course the ego never wants to be even slightly subdued. Ego wants to be in charge because the ego believes it's in charge. It is what it is. Says ego got me in my accident in December, so I put it aside for a bit. It's a smart move. The key is when we know that the ego is a tool, but it isn't who we are. And then we start becoming more responsive. Ego is always reactive. Ego never responds to anything, because that's a more heartfelt energy response. That's when my thoughts, the true intelligence, resides in the heart, and that the brain, it's part of the intellect, and the function is to make things happen within the body, but that general intelligence, the responsive intelligence, resides in the heart energy. I'd be interested in Squirrel Sniper's thoughts on that, as well as Lewis's and Hybrid Jim's. I think Hybrid might be, him and I might be aligned a bit on this due to his training in martial arts and interest in Eastern philosophy, especially Taoism. Hybrid said, I heard California was considered liberal, but now it's Texas. Got more liberals, but was more right wing. Parts of Texas, Austin is sort of considered liberal. It is what it is correct. Sometimes I think, of course, I'm going to relate that into ego, because it's the ego that says liberal and it's the ego that says conservative, when in actuality, we're just people. We're just people with opinions and thoughts and beliefs. But when you keep stripping those beliefs away one at a time, we get closer and closer to who we really are, and we relate to the same things. We could put it to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and all of us would be on that chart. All of us need the basic levels of survival. All of us need to feel like we belong to something. All of us want to be loved. I don't know any conservative friend that I have. I guess people would say, you know, that I'm liberal. I don't say that I'm anything. I don't have, I always paraphrase the Dalai Lama. He said that his religion was kindness. My politics is kindness. But I don't have any single conservative friend or family who wouldn't put political differences aside and help me shovel my car out. They'd be there in a heartbeat. I don't have any liberal friends who wouldn't do the same thing for their conservative. When we strip all this away, we respond to each other as humans, and that's what counts. It is what it is says, I'm neither. I mind my own business and I go to work. They're both being played for fools, in my opinions. In my opinion, I would agree with Lewis. I vote according to my heart on issue by issue by issue. Sometimes it seems like one party is more aligned with my heart. So I take it from there, but I don't identify. If someone says, what are you? My answer is, I'm a person. I'm a human. I'm a neighbor. I'm a friend. And I can even strip past them and say I'm just a being. That was a good answer, Lewis. Squirrel Sniper says it all comes back to being balanced. Exactly. And Lewis says, exactly, Eric, we all bleed red. We certainly do. However, Jim says, but the elections aren't really representative of the people, just generally. They're represented, at least in America, by special interest groups. So it seems. Probably not much different in Great Britain. Our politics seem fairly aligned. Our friend Destiny Forever Walks, PhD, is here. Hello, Eric. Just a yogi doing burpees in his basement. How are you? Happy Friday. I'm good. Boy, we've been talking about religion. We've been talking about politics. This has been probably my all-time favorite political discussion. because none of us are fighting over who's right or who's wrong. We both pretty much agreed that politicians themselves, for lack of a better term, suck. When you don't have power, if you're a politician or you want to be a politician and you don't have power, then there's the quest to get power. When you get power, you do everything you can to stay in power. And that means so often not doing the right thing. You're not working for the people any longer. You're working for yourself so you can maintain that position. The days of, I think the days of the good politician might be done, might be over for the most part. Maybe not, though. We got everyone saying hi to each other. Always nice to see. Hybrid Jim says, unfortunately, I have to go and eat the lasagna. You don't seem too heartbroken over that, Hybrid. Enjoy the lasagna, and always happy when you stop by. Glad to hear the training is going well. Looking forward to the next video. Always look forward to see you hanging out, literally hanging out on your tree. The last couple talks, Destiny and I, and Squirrel Sniper as well, have had some great talks about trees. And I can't have a talk about trees without you coming up in the conversation quite a bit. So, Hybrid, know that you're often in our thoughts, even if it's a couple weeks that we don't see you. Lewis says he's doing great. And saying goodbye to Hybrid. Destiny says that she is doing awesome. To her dear friend Lewis, blessings to you. Hybrid, or it is what it is, says, I bet Hybrid's lasagna is the bomb. Freaking bomb. Yeah, he's described it. It's always vegan, but always got good stuff in it. Actually, every time he comes in and he talks about what he's cooking, it always sounds really good. It always sounds extremely healthy and really good. We have similar diets. He adds in just a little bit of animal protein that I don't, but it keeps it nice and balanced for him. He seems to, he obviously, I was going to say it seems to respond, he seems to respond well to it, but obviously he doesn't seem. If you ever, I know you guys have watched him, his diet is definitely working for him. Destiny says, welcome in everyone. Please smash the like button, thumbs up, and share out this super amazing channel. Thank you, I appreciate that. Enjoy your meal and your weekend, Hybrid Gym. Definitely, and again, it is Easter weekend. For me, again, growing up, going to Catholic school, this was a holiday that had, I don't even like calling it a holiday except for the fact of Holy Day. This was a holiday that Christianity was based upon more so than Christmas, because without the resurrection, what do you have? And no matter how you view that resurrection, the truth, the metaphor, the beauty of being able to overcome our crucifixion into eternal life is absolutely beautiful. So even if you're not a practicing Christian, and even if you're not a Christian at all, it's definitely a holiday, a holy day to appreciate and to honor. So even as I moved away from, oddly enough, even as I moved away philosophically from my Christian roots, I seem to more and more honor the Christian tradition, as well as, I absolutely love Catholic Mass in Latin, old school. It's the way it was when I was a kid. I had nuns for teachers. We had church every week in school. My parents, not all the time. My mom taught in the same Catholic school I went to. My dad taught science in a public school. We would occasionally go to church, but I think my mom felt that since we had it in school, maybe just keep the weekends church free for the most part, but we did go on occasion. Here in Columbia, where I grew up, we have interfaith centers, not churches. Now I think there's one or two churches around, but when I was a kid, it was interfaith centers where people gathered, and it didn't matter the religion. You could have Catholic Mass at 9 in the morning, followed by a Quaker prayer sitting at 11, followed by synagogue at 2 o'clock. Everyone gathered in the same house, different times, but it was a way of getting to know people right across the board. I've mentioned before how I absolutely love my hometown. Not the town of my birth, but the town I moved to. I think I was about 3 years old, and I've stayed here my entire life with little desire to live anywhere else, because it's just so beautiful. Virtually every one of the nature shorts that I do is 5 minutes from my front door. When I was training for ultra marathons, I could leave my house and do a 30-mile round trip run and only cross one road 2 times, going and going back. The rest was on bike paths or actual trails, surrounded by woods. If I went through a neighborhood, it was a beautiful neighborhood that was surrounded by woods. And it is much the same. A little more developed. People are a little busier, roads are a little busier, but overall, it has retained its beauty. I'm less than a quarter mile from a beautiful pond that is filled with all kinds of wildlife. I got deer, fox, skunks, possums, raccoon in my backyard, occasional coyote. Last year we had a bear wander through. So, with all that about where I live, I wish you guys the same. Anyone who pops in, and especially to my good friends that are here now, I hope that you are all absolutely in love in the area that you live in. That means a whole lot. To feel like you're trapped. I'm going to tie that back to the ego. That sometimes spiritually we can feel like we are trapped by the ego. That it's calling all the shots. And it doesn't feel right because we're not responding from the heart. And we know when it's not right. We know. I was talking before about the heart center being the intelligence. And our heart, that heart area, just won't feel right when we're not aligned, spiritually speaking. And I think that's a universal, when I say spiritually, I'm not saying religious. I think that spiritually we know what's right. And the great spiritual traditions, you know, the golden rule goes across all religious spectrums, from Christianity to Taoism to Buddhism. Destiny says, Eric, I would love to live in an area like you, where all the creatures in nature come to you. Yeah, they certainly do. Some more so than others. Like the deer aren't even afraid anymore. I get within 2 feet of deer and they just look at me and continue eating. I like to think that's because of my peaceful yogic demeanor, but in actuality, it is because they just see people every day. No one hunts around here. The only thing they have to worry about, um, cars. Some of the other creatures are a little more skittish. Um, Sometimes it's hard to get a little film of foxes because they move pretty quick, but every once in a while they get curious and they'll just stand. The last one I posted of a fox um, just stood there while Milka filmed it, curious, until our little dog barked it away. Squirrel Sniper, are you in an area where you have nice access to nature? I mentioned before in this conversation how much I love the landscape of Great Britain. I know, some parts are heavily industrialized, um, but the countryside itself is just beautiful. Squirrel Sniper says, imagine a single garbage bin with two separate lids. One says recycled, the other landfill. That's politics. That sums it up pretty succinctly. One choice being often just as bad as the other. Really, the same. A lot of cases. Some few differences, and those are the differences that gain my vote. I'm scientifically minded in a lot of ways, and I am environmentally conscious. We can see the damage that's occurring. We know that without clean oceans, we're not going to survive long, and our kids are going to suffer the consequences of everything we're doing now just for profit. And it's not even our profit. When we would do ultra races around the eastern seaboard, or as a kid, we would travel to different areas, visiting Kentucky. And these people live so close to the land. They honor the land. And yet they allow coal companies to come because of the jobs, which are important. But it rapes the land, and then the coal companies leave. And then the people who allow this to happen for those short-term jobs, and maybe short-term might be a generation, but eventually the coal companies leave and the land is ruined. And you're not going to get that old growth of forest back again. You're not going to get that mountaintop back again, ever. They're gone. Maybe that might change when humanity is no longer here, but then we won't be here to appreciate those forests any longer, sadly. Let's see. Squirrel Sniper says the small working village is on a working farm located at the foot of the Sussex Downs. It's a ridge that goes east to west, the highest point around here. You know what? I think our friend Paradox was talking about that. He went running there. I recall him talking about a ridge. I always admired the fell runners of Great Britain. I'm going to look up our friend Paradox and look for his video. I don't know if you guys saw that our friend Aldo, Crozet Motivation Fitness, did 2,000 Mike Tyson push-ups this morning. Speaking of high volume and a lot of reps. Squirrel Sniper says it's also located exactly on the 000 longitude GMT. Interesting. I see that our friend James Skype is live. James has, I've mentioned before, helped me quite a bit. And just as much, Mayhem and Miracles has helped me quite a bit. You make one small connection across the board, one small connection, and it can lead to some pretty profound one, friendships. Two, it widens your connections, your circle of connections. I know Squirrel Sniper, where did we connect? Was it on Mayhem and Miracles? Was it on James Skype? Or did we find each other somewhere else? I don't remember. Squirrel Sniper says it has one of only a handful of churches built before 1066, before the Norman invasion. It's Saxon design and on a strong meridian ley lines. So you can, especially you, as because I know you're sensitive to energy, being a dowser. I imagine you feel that area pretty strongly, that you are energetically connected to it. So yeah, one of his Paradox's videos, he was in the Carding Mill Valley. Are you familiar with that? And the other one was the Roaches. Squirrel Sniper said you could say I was drawn here. Yeah, I can imagine that, actually. Makes me wonder, in a sense, you know, are we all drawn towards where we are energetically right now? And if we're not aligned, should we do something about it? I mean, this, for me, definitely feels like home. Except for the taxes. And again, I mentioned before, I'm not anti-taxes. This is one of the most affluent areas because of its location in the country. It has the top 1 or 2 best schools. I don't have any kids in school age, stepdaughter who was grown up. But I appreciate the fact that kids get a great education here and that we pay our teachers well. We have great roads. We have buses that all run on time. We have public libraries. We have all the great stuff that taxes can get us. But, you know, the house that I live in has been paid off for 30 years. Makes me wonder why it's still being taxed. It's still being taxed a lot. Property tax, county tax, city tax, state tax, and then we have sales tax. And again, I'm not anti-tax. I just think there should be some type of cap, some type of limit that as long as you're paying taxes on every single thing, every single issue, it's hard to say that we're legitimately free. Because you can't escape it. I have definitely considered from time to time going off the grid, and one of the blessings of having a house that's paid for is I can sort of go off the grid and yet at the same time stay connected to the grid, if that makes sense. Destiny says, I agree with you, Squirrel Sniper. I felt the very same way. It's all divine appointment. I like that expression, which was meant to happen at the appointed time, and it did. And here we are, with just Yogi doing burpees, and I appreciate that. I'm absolutely grateful that our divine appointment aligns so perfectly well with each other, all of us. Lewis says, I am so against it. Laughing out loud, avoid it as much as possible. Yeah. If it wasn't for taxes, then money that I had saved up and then money that I had inherited from my father's estate probably would have lasted me all the way to Social Security, which of course we all paid in our entire life. It's our money that we get back. But the taxes have done some considerable damage to my savings. A friend Horror of Space is here. Hello, my friend. How are you? Squirrel Sniper says, too much tax. I faulted on a few months council tax during 2020 when I was ill. I had to pay the whole year in full. That's just ridiculous. It put my wife under so much stress. I bet. I am fighting the system at the moment. From what I understand, Great Britain has always been highly taxed. I mean, that was the whole reason John Lennon wanted to move to New York. And the Stones left for a while. Horror Spice says, doing well. How are you, Eric? By the way, my name is Vincent. I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm glad to know you as Vincent. It's nice having a name. Nice having a name to the handle. And Vincent is a very meaningful name for me because my favorite artist, one of my favorite artists, Vincent van Gogh. Monet, quite a bit as well. And there's a certain innocence to Rousseau. But the Impressionist, the post-Impressionist, definitely, I think, is where my heart lies. I do like some abstract Jackson Pollock style. I can't say I fully get all of it, but sometimes you see one and you're just drawn to it. It's a amazing thing about art, and I think Skull Sniper would probably agree that it's that energy. You're just drawn to it, and you don't have to explain why. You don't have to say, I like this because of this and this and this and this. That's for critics. But true appreciation of art is you just look at it and there's just something draws you in. Squirrel Sniper, I appreciate you fighting the system, and I hope you win. Destiny is saying hi and happy Friday to you, Horror of Spice. Squirrel Sniper says it is 340 pounds a month. Am I getting that right? Pounds for bin collection and the repair of potholes, and also the new 15-minute cities and funding terrorism. In your honest opinion, I'm I'm not going to argue that. When we think of what America spends on investing in the defense of other countries and in our own defense, and I'm not saying defense isn't important, but when we think about the money and we think that how much of it is wasted because it's not streamlined, and what we could do with it. We could, America is a wealthy enough nation, we could literally give every child the education that they deserve. We could feed every single person. We can home everyone. We can home our homeless vets. We can home all of the homeless. Some people might argue, well, you know, if you don't work for it, do you deserve a home? And my answer is everyone deserves a home. If you choose not to live in it, that's fine. We had a talk the other day about hobos. I am all for hobos. I'm all for the hobo lifestyle. Dusty says, welcome in, everyone. Please smash the like button, thumbs up, and cheer out Just Yogi doing burpees in his basement. Super amazing channel. And thank you again. Much appreciated. The Squirrel Sniper said there's defense and then there's money laundering. So true. I don't know. We need a national, international paradigm shift. And I don't mean that in, any type of armed revolution, but I think people need to take a stand. And we need to demand. I want to see how and where my money is going to, and I want it to benefit us, the people. I want to look around and see a more beautiful world and know that the money that I'm putting in to the system is actually helping people. That it's making a difference. That it's not just fueling politicians. It's not just lining pockets. Somewhere I think we've gone off. I think about that as well, pharmaceutically. That if a pharmaceutical fixes one thing or reduces symptoms of one thing, but causes a host of other issues that make you just as miserable, is it really worthwhile? I don't have the answer to that because I'm not suffering from, any life-threatening illness. Squirrel Sniper says, it's coming. Man, I hope you're wrong about that one. I can't say that you are, but I certainly hope so. I just don't like imagining the damage that is going to be done to all of us if that happens. Milka McCarty is here saying hi. Hello, Milka. How are you? We are talking across the spectrum. We've had a very good political conversation, which I see Milka backing away from the camera right now, not wanting to get involved in political conversation. But it's not political in the I'm right, you're wrong, this is who I am, this is who you are. It's deeper. We're talking as people, we're talking as friends. We're not talking about political affiliations or parties. Which is, man, imagine if everyone did that. Imagine if the whole conversation was based upon how can we fix our problems, how can we fix our issues, and not does this align with my political view or not. Forget the political view, it's just an opinion. It's just a belief. We all know that we have some issues. We all know that something needs to be done. I think we could get down to the bottom of that. Mocha says she has lots of schoolwork. I know. And Destiny's saying hi to Mocha. Mocha says, I'm not one to back away from intelligent conversations. I know you're not, but when I first said politics, I had yet to get to the point about intelligence. That's the problem. Probably 99% of all political conversations aren't intelligent conversations. Fortunately, this one wasn't just an intelligent, but it was a kind-hearted conversation, which to me is as important, maybe more important than intelligence. Or you know what I'm going to say? There's no difference between kindness and intelligence. There's a Native American proverb, no tree would be so foolish to have branches that fights amongst themselves. Along those lines. We are all branches of the same tree. It's foolish for us to fight like that. Mocha says, that's where these days it is. And Vincent said, the most political I get is about medical marijuana. Normal member. Isn't that a shame, Vincent, that medical marijuana should even be a political issue? So, but we weren't limited to politics. We talked about churches, we talked about Christianity, we talked about the ego. Very important conversation about the ego. And I talked a little bit about art and energy. I think there's something about Squirrel Sniper's presence that draws me towards talking about energy quite a bit. Mocha says, especially with the stark differences. Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems like the lines have been drawn, and that was a point alluded to by Squirrel Sniper. Every line is imaginary. Every single line is imaginary. Who's the one drawing them? And why do we feel that they have to divide us? Or Spice says, well, the fight on hemp started with a very petty and racist man. Are we talking about Hoover? Glad to see it end slowly but surely. Because J. Edgar Hoover was definitely a petty and racist man, and he had a vendetta against marijuana, and not because he thought it was inherently evil, but because he did see it as a way of attacking African Americans. I think one of the first people persecuted for new drug laws that were put in place in the 1920s or 1930s was a black man in Colorado who ended up serving well over 20 some years for possessing a joint. And I think it's absolutely amazing that now we have politicians investing in medical marijuana companies, and yet we've done nothing to correct the policies that have put innocent people in prison for possessing small amounts of marijuana. I also think it's ridiculous to persecute drug users of any kind. I'm not talking about, obviously, about violent drug users. Then the issue is violence, not the drug use. What we need to be doing, drug education, drug help. How can we get you the help you need? Score Sniper said, there are truths in movies, the only that managed to avoid the gruesome events in the film The Final Destination was the pothead smoker. I haven't seen that movie. That's interesting. That's funny and that's interesting as well. I can say smoking pot recreationally as a teenager certainly helped me in many ways. It helped me overcome almost a crippling shyness at times. It opened me up, and it had me thinking more freely outside the box. I no longer felt the need to hide that out-of-the-box thinking. And it fueled my creativity quite a bit. I began writing and expressing myself in other ways. When it became no longer something that was serving me, it was time to stop. And I put it aside pretty easily. Unfortunately, I also had developed unrelated issues with alcohol that I was happy to have surrendered as well. I didn't beat it because I didn't fight it. I laid it aside. It just was no longer part of my life. Destiny said, I worked under J. Edgar, wow, FBI leadership many years ago. He was a hard man to figure out, and we all are at some point. I agree with that. You know what? We all are for ourselves. Very few people have figured themselves out, let alone trying to figure out other people. When you realize that, and that's the whole message of yoga. One, figuring out who you truly are, figuring out the nature of the mind so that you realize that you're not your thoughts, you're not technically your body, you're not your ego. And then when you realize that, hey, if I've been caught up in all of this, every single person I come in contact with is just as caught up. And yet they don't know that they're not their mind, that they're not their thoughts, that they're not the body. They're still deeply entrenched in that reality structure, or as they say in neuroscience, reality tunnel. Everyone is trapped in their reality tunnel, not realizing the light at the end of the tunnel, that's who you really are. And when you even catch a glimpse of that light, and when you even catch a glimpse of understanding that you are that light, then your empathy and compassion begins to grow tremendously. Because you realize I've been trapped all these years, and I'm just now getting a glimpse of true light and reality and love and compassion. And there's so many people who are still trapped. This is why the Buddhistas in Buddhism choose to come back. They've reached that enlightened stage, and yet instead of going fully into nirvana, they keep coming back, cycle after cycle after cycle, until every single one of us has that realization, becomes free. That's the ultimate act of compassion. However, we're all given that opportunity. We are all given that opportunity to act compassionately, to have that empathy. And when we start acting that way, we begin to see outside the bounds of our belief system. Our reality tunnel expands. Destiny, that's fascinating that you worked on a hymn. I have a book behind me there, Bebop Apocalypse, which is about jazz. Absolutely love the book because I absolutely love jazz. I don't know if I ever mentioned to Mocha before that I really love jazz. She might be surprised to be hearing it here for the first time. And that's where I read it's a highly researched book, but that's when I read about the black man in Colorado who was arrested, 1 or 2 joints, and spent several decades in prison because of that. Mocha said, agreed, Horror of Spice. By the way, Mocha, Horror of Spice's name is Vincent. I go back and forth with Horror of Spice and Vincent. And we only hurt ourselves with banning hemp, as there are many uses outside of just consumption. How many trees could we save by harvesting hemp? I mean, an amazing. We would literally save forest after forest after forest, untold acres, by cultivating hemp more. Not to mention the medicinal benefits outside of just smoking. Vincent said, I get a lotion made of hemp from the dispensary. I rub it on sore spots, and when it soaks in, numb feeling, it helps with the walking. Amazing benefits. And there's so many other plants as well that we limit ourselves. See, Mocha is surprised. What? Jazz, you? I knew it would come as a shock, but I thought it was finally time to let you in on my secret. Squirrel Sniper says we can only aim to be sovereign. Yeah. Each of us. Desi says, I love jazz too, instrumental. There's a few jazz singers that I like. Obviously, Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald. But I'm definitely more drawn across the board. 1958. Not that I don't like jazz before. Love Charlie Bird. But Charlie Parker, the Bird. But from 58 to the late 60s, to me, it just seemed like such a magical time in jazz. But I don't know. I think any time. Squirrel Sniper says, hemp crate. I'm not sure what that is. Vincent said, Becky, my wife and I listen to jazz a lot. It's a wonderful thing to know. That makes me all the happier knowing that I have jazz friends in this chat. And he says, when we need a laugh, we put on a dirty jazz song. Not sure I've heard a dirty jazz song. Of course, Miles Davis, John Coltrane. So many others. Putting on what was can't remember the musical channel. The paying station. I know there's a name for it and I can't think of it. Was a great salvation for me. Destiny said, Eric, it would be awesome to see all these wise and wonderful people here to share their views live on a panel discussion. I would absolutely love to do a panel discussion. I would do a panel discussion once a week or more. One, I got to learn how to do a panel discussion. And two, what do you guys think? because this is a group here. This is obviously more, lots and lots of YouTube friends, but you guys are absolutely fascinating. Everyone has, everyone is one, so kind and compassionate towards each other, which is important to me, and everyone has just different enough views that they would express it, and nobody would be like, well, that's wrong. It's just a different outlook, and yet everyone is alike enough in that everyone thinks outside of the box. No one here has been cut from the same mold, same cookie cutter as anyone else. I would love to do a panel discussion. So let's make that happen, guys. Squirrel Sniper says hemp crate or hemp lime is biocompost material, a mixture of hemp herds, chives, and lime, sand, or pozzolans, which is used as a material for construction and insulation. So we could literally have buildings, houses made of hemp, is what you're saying, which doesn't surprise me in the least, but it does surprise me as why aren't we doing this? Vincent said having set topics like a handful would be lovely. It would. Destiny said, Eric, the J. Jordan, is kind to offer his help in teaching people how to screen live. Check him out. I will, because the reason I go live at all is largely 90% due to the J. Jordan and his inspiration. Because I looked at him going live. I looked at him going live on his workouts. I looked at him going live with his music. I looked at him live just coming by and talking, and I thought, he's an artist. Now, of course, the J is a musician, so it shouldn't be shocking if, for me to say he's an artist. However, what I meant was he's an all-round artist. He made YouTube Live an art form. He made conversation an art form. And it had me wondering, could I do that? Could I do that my own way? With the stuff that I love? Could I just come and talk to a camera, regardless of if anyone showed up, and just talk to the art of conversation? And amazingly, the first time I tried it, I absolutely fell in love with it. I don't know if anyone came. I don't know how long it was before anyone showed up. Regardless, every day, I kept having the conversation. Excuse me. And every time the J. Jordan pops up, I make a point of letting him know. Because you know what? To know that you've had that kind of creative influence on someone, literally life-changing, literally me deciding, hey, I want to make this a means of income, of surviving, of paying my high taxes, through my own art, sharing my stuff, whatever that stuff might be. That's no small thing to be responsible for that, to light that creative fuse. So I definitely always make a point of letting the J. Jordan and everyone else, and Destiny, you are included in that as well. Let's see. Vincent said, how about Hempcrate house building, Sniper? And it has been one of the best discussions yet. Thanks, Eric, and everyone in the chat. It has been a great discussion. Vincent says, well, I have to stretch for walking. Have a great walk. Love and peace to you all. Love and peace to you, Vincent. Thank you. I'm going to be closing it down as well and get ready to do my meditation. Milka says, Vincent, yes, Hempcrate. It's amazing to hear. Here's the finishing thought. How do you make something like that happen? How can we be so backwards as a people that we see this affordable, low environmental impact way of building an entire society around these simple products that help everyone across the board, affordable houses for everyone, and I mean truly affordable, that there'd be no reason for anyone to be homeless unless they decide they'd like where they are better. Hobos, catching a train. And yet we don't do it. And I know what our friend Squirrel Sniper would say. Profit for a few. And I agree. And it's sad. And it needs to change. And we need to be part of the change. And I think, some of the start of it is just having these conversations. Destiny said, what I mean is that the Jay Jordan can teach you how to bring people up to the live screen panel to collaborate with you. Yes, I actually understood, and I went on a tangent about my admiration for the Jay. So, sorry, I should have definitely been more clear about that. I will reach out on a live session, one of his live sessions, when he is not working out and can speak more freely. Or when he pops in here, I'll ask him. I would definitely appreciate it. And man, we would have a lot of fun on a panel discussion. Hopefully I have the technical capability of doing that, as I am obviously very low tech. Squirrel Sniper says, I prefer calling Hempcrates fibergrass. That's actually really, really funny, but it's also really creative, and I like that. Fibergrass. Perfect. So, guys, I'm going to get to my meditation. Vincent, have a great walk. Squirrel Sniper, thanks again for all the great insights. Destiny, appreciate every moment you spend in every chat. It is what it is. And Hybrid Jim, it's always an honor when you guys show up. And Mocha, you know how much I appreciate it when you are here. Always. Destiny said, I'm out, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks, Eric, in the chat. Happy weekend. You too, guys. I'll be by later this night. I know it's a holiday weekend, so, hey, don't worry about it. I'm here either way. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Have a good day. Have a good holiday as well.